Since the Marvel Cinematic Universe exploded onto screens in 2008 with Iron Man, audiences have been absolutely bombarded with small screen offerings from Marvel Studios, so much so that many of their shows, both within the MCU and beyond it, may have passed you by. With the MCU's small screen output at full steam at the moment, and a host of popular shows set to be revived in the coming years, now seems to be the perfect time to take stock of the various shows Marvel has thrown at audiences since the mid-2010s. So let's take a look at them. I'm Adam, this is What Culture, and this is every Marvel TV show ranked worst to best. Number 25, I Am Groot. Now, there really isn't anything wrong with I Am Groot, a brisk anthology series detailing the various solo adventures of everybody's favourite monosyllabic tree. It's just that it serves no real purpose and offers little in the way of stakes or memorability. Whether he's wreaking havoc on the Guardian ship or on a desperate search for ice cream, I Am Groot is perfectly lovely, inoffensive animated fun in the moment, aimed clearly at younger Marvel fans and ticking all the boxes it needs to. Of all the Marvel shows produced so far, both in the MCU and beyond though, this tiny series is by far the least essential and most forgettable, even if your kids are likely to love it. Number 24, Inhumans. Inhumans has an enticing premise, which is probably why Marvel have tried to get it off the ground so many times. They announced a movie in 2014, one of many planned MCU vehicles never to take off, but in execution it fizzled as soon as it was put on screen. The story of a group of superheroes stranded on Earth after a violent coup outs them for their secret base on the moon, Inhumans has plenty of thematic bites squandered by dry performances, unexplored themes of class struggle, and cheap-looking set pieces. Maybe if it had more time to grow, it could have eventually found itself, but it's doubtful. Inhumans was dead on arrival. Number 23, Hellstrom. Hellstrom had the world against it during its production, cancelled before its first and only season even premiered, and silently thrown onto screens by Marvel without any hint that they were rooting for it. Watching it, you'd be forgiven for not realizing Hellstrom was Marvel at all. The listless story of the children of a deadly serial killer who fight demons, its directionless plot and thin characters leave it a wobbly mess right from the off, aiming for some sort of superhero riff on Supernatural, but coming up dramatically short. There was plenty of potential here, what with its grim premise and occasionally decent visuals, but Hellstrom was never given the care or attention it needed to thrive. An ill-fated attempt by Hulu to kickstart their own mini-franchise, putting it out of its misery was probably for the best. Number 22, Iron Fist. Iron Fist proved to be a step too far for the Netflix era of Marvel shows, offering up a story so ponderous, one-note and unsure of itself, it's honestly a wonder it was made to complement the likes of Daredevil and Jessica Jones at all. Following billionaire Danny Rand as he returns home after years-long absence in Tibet with a powerful calling, Iron Fist's worst offense is that it spends no time giving its central character any depth outside of his powers or fractured family legacy. The show also does little to combat the dated 70s-inspired martial arts motif. White guy travels to Asia to find himself and becomes a prophetic hero. That sets its drama in motion, and whilst its second season is a bit more grounded and assured, there's a good chance you'll have lost all interest by the time you get there. Number 21, Secret Invasion. It was bold of Marvel to adapt one of its most epic, defining comic book storylines into a small-scale TV show devoid of its large ensemble and impact. It was also, as you can probably guess, a huge mistake. Though it digs into the life of MCU mainstay Nick Fury, Secret Invasion's tale of shape-shifting invaders and political intrigue is so inconsequential it never lives up to the stakes its embattled characters want to sell. The implications of the Skrull conspiracy should have been much more deadly, but Secret Invasion never allows it to become the life-changing clash it deserved. The drama regarding Fury's past is quite enticing, as are the moral quandaries raised by Big Bad Gravik, but they probably should have been in a different show. Number 20, SheHulk Attorney at Law. Now, to its credit, SheHulk Attorney at Law is definitely doing something new, offering daring genre mashups, strong performances, and shock character guest spots. Unfortunately, the series is also heavily uneven, with Megan Thee Stallion guest starring in an episode, perhaps a tad pandering in the way of Lizzo and Jack Black appearing in The Mandalorian, as well as the ill-timed comments about how overworked Marvel's VFX crew are. It's also, ironically, visually horrendous in areas. These issues aside, Tatiana Maslany is in remarkable form as the cousin of Bruce Banner, who must come to peace with her new powers and society's view of her. She sells SheHulk's inner turmoil for every twist, even if the hit-or-miss comedy around her threatens to bury her otherwise compelling and timely development. However, the finale showing her jumping around in the Disney Plus menu screen was a great addition in line with her fourth wall breaking in the comics, even if this raises questions regarding stakes going forward. Number 19. What If? An animated anthology series rife with possibilities, What If's speculative look at the MCU has its highs, but for the most part struggles under the weight of itself. Though some segments make the most of their potential, such as when Peggy Carter becomes Captain America, or when Happy Hogan plays Die Hard, many more merely trudge through their ideas, the zombies and Ultron of it all bogged down by the show's desire to try seemingly everything at once. Visually effective and sporting some strong voice work, despite many franchise mainstays being noticeably recast, What If is for the most part fine as it is, but its dramatically shifting quality makes it difficult to get comfortable with. Number 18. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, when it was good, it soared. But when it was bad, well, it was trying to convince us that the Flag Smashers, displaced people left stranded by Thanos, were unreasonable and evil for wanting homes. Odd character assassinations and wonky politics aside, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier has its highs, from the performance of a wounded Sebastian Stan, the introduction of Carl Lumbly's heartbreaking super soldier Isaiah Bradley, and its exhilarating action sequences, which make the most of Falcon's aerial combat. Unfortunately, it also has the middling Baron Zemo and John Walker, clearly insane before becoming the new Captain America, and an uneven run that can't quite drive its loftier themes home. Sam Wilson's journey is well-meaning, timely and thrilling, but it's also stuffed to the point of overflowing with ideas half-formed. Number 17. Runaways. With a solid 3-season run under its belt, Runaways was one of Marvel's most successful shows before cancellation, an entertaining series with its own unique vision and plenty of time to grow into itself. The story of 6 superhuman teens who rebel against their criminal parents and go on the run in an attempt to take them down, Runaways particularly soared with its depiction of friendship and generational trauma, following its central characters as they battle the inner demons and very real ones created by their parents. With a brilliant cast led by standout turns from Lyrica Okeno, Julian McMahon, and Buffy's James Masters, Runaways was a mature, high-concept thriller imbued with a real sense of character and effective world-building. Here's to hoping we'll see them all again down the road. Number 16. The Gifted. The closest we've gotten to an X-Men project since the highs and many lows of the original movie franchise, The Gifted boasts a brilliant premise. In a world where the X-Men have disappeared, 2 young mutants go on the run after uncovering their superhuman abilities. With an impressive Amy Acker and Stephen Moyer leading the way as embattled parents forced to protect their kids from a vengeful government, The Gifted tackles all the themes expected from an X-Men project: prejudice, persecution, and identity crisis amongst them, whilst also soaring as a moving coming-of-age drama. Admittedly quite uncertain during its opening episodes, this particular show is one that was really hitting its stride before its cancellation, making more thematic and stylistic leaps with every new development. It wasn't meant to last, but what we got is tough to fault. What could have been? Number 15. The Defenders. Borrowing a trick from its movie counterparts, Netflix's various solo MCU adventures eventually ended up here, with a superhero team-up between Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, who must protect New York from the overarching villains, the Hand. The Defenders makes for a brisk and entertaining affair, mostly due to how well these characters and their actors work off one another, bursting with exhilarating fight scenes and emotional turmoil. It's also honestly slightly underwhelming, with Iron Fist taking center stage and the antagonists feeling decidedly one note. Though it was great to finally see these characters working together, their personalities and methods clashing with humorous and fractious results, The Defenders suffered from a bit of overhype, given its characters' respective shows, and for all of its highs, wasn't able to juggle all that came before or push itself to give fans something new. Number 14. Cloak and Dagger. Much like The Gifted, a similar risky adaptation that aired at the same time, Cloak and Dagger worked wonders to fuse excellent superhero lore and timely, all too relevant themes into an affecting coming-of-age tale. Running for only 2 seasons, Cloak and Dagger's tale of 2 teens linked by tragedy and the realization that their newfound superpowers work best when they're working together makes for one of Marvel's most emotionally resonant properties, rife with deeply empathetic characters and palpable tension. There are admittedly moments when its plot becomes a touch too bloated, mainly in Season 2, which juggles a frightening new villain with an abduction storyline to slightly shaky effect, but watch Tandy and Tyrone's relationship blossom with their powers, and you'll be quick to forgive its flaws. Number 13. Moon Knight. Moon Knight came along during a crossroads moment for the MCU, when the franchise's previous shows had proven to be rousing success stories as seen in WandaVision, or frustrating misfires as seen in The Falcon and The Winter Soldier. Thanks to the committed work of star Oscar Isaac and its keen focus on its eponymous character's dark and compelling split personality, Moon Knight proves a strong candidate for the former category, filled with strong enough character drama and intriguing mythology to make up for its rocky effects and chaotic final act. It suffers, yes, those visual effects really are jarring, and you get the sense that filming commenced without a clear outline of where things were heading, but Moon Knight still offers plenty of highs, which I suppose is what happens when you've got a star like Isaac in such a meaty, morally complex role. Number 12. Ekko. As a spin-off to Hawkeye and a precursor for Daredevil Born Again, Ekko felt like it was going to be a filler when it was announced. And whilst it's true it certainly feels like its main purpose is to keep the MCU moving in an interconnected way, it's also remarkably entertaining and bursting with real feeling. Anchored by Alaqua Cox's sensitive and physically demanding central performance, the series follows Ekko as she races to save herself from the wrath of Kingpin whilst uncovering the secrets of her upbringing and ancestral past. Fast-paced and moving, some of Ekko's story beats feel a little stretched even at just 5 episodes, but it does have a level of heart rarely seen in the MCU, along with a positive, powerful depiction of Native women. Maya Lopez is one of the most compelling anti-heroes with every twist of her tragic and healing development. And come on, Vincent D'Onofrio! Number 11. Luke Cage. With its richly constructed Harlem setting and Mike Colter's riveting performance, Luke Cage was never anything less than a blast to watch over its 2-season run. Though for all its highs, Mahershala Ali's short-lived Cottonmouth, for example, it often tripped over itself. Deviating in its 2nd season from a grounded, gritty project to a comparatively silly one, Luke Cage slipped in the end, but no amount of ill-conceived diamond black twists could take away from the immortal highs of its debut season. Humanistic and filled with iconic imagery, the most powerful of which being Luke Cage himself, a black man outside the law fighting for the people and given the power of unbreakable skin, Luke Cage wasn't the best of the Defenders saga, but it was always the most socially pertinent and endearing. And before we get into the top 10, let us know in the comments down below of your personal favourite MCU moment right after the infamous Iron Man snap in Endgame. Number 10. Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel, like all shows produced within the MCU, is not without its flaws. Terrible visual effects in places, awkward Easter eggs, you know the drill. But at its core, it's also one of the franchise's most endearing origin stories. Following Kamala Khan as she comes to terms with her newfound powers and place in the world, it's a relatively predictable coming-of-age tale, elevated by an energetic cast and deeply affecting focus on community and family. Reworking its source material to suit the wider MCU may have been a risk, but it's one that pays off in the end. Miss Marvel, for all its weaker spots and chaotic finale, is a hopeful little show that makes it seem like the MCU's future isn't so dark after all. Number 9. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The long-running show in Marvel's back catalogue, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was left entirely forgotten by the wider MCU that gave it life after 2012's The Avengers, allowing it, for better or for worse, to thrive in its own storylines. Centered on the presumed dead Agent Coulson and his own team of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, the series took life as a procedural with numerous adversaries including Hydra, the Inhumans, handled here better than they were in their own short-lived show, the Kree, and the brilliantly adapted Ghost Rider. Even at its worst, a decent slice of senseless entertainment, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was rocky, melodramatic, and visually dim, but its dark edge and affecting twists, a major portrayal in Season 1 proving a memorable high, made its 7-season run a delightfully bonkers but very fun enterprise. Number 8. Hawkeye. In Avengers Endgame, much of Clint Barton's story was rushed through. After the death of his family in the snap, the former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent went rogue as the violent vigilante Ronin, a development quickly sidelined. Then enter Hawkeye, which served not only as an introduction for newcomer Kate Bishop, but as a potential swan song for Barton himself. A light-footed but emotionally captivating series in which Barton must grapple with his past sins, all he's lost, and his future. Simultaneously funny and confrontational, Hawkeye balances its tone and story beautifully, giving one of the MCU's major figures an intimate and effective send-off while setting up its future. Kingpin's return feels shoehorned in, and Kate's family drama doesn't quite stick the landing, but all told, Hawkeye doesn't miss. Number 7. Legion. Legion is a strange beast, simultaneously a Loki X-Men event and a project that, due to the relative obscurity of its characters and its daring assessment of fractured mental health, doesn't always feel like a Marvel property at all. But such is its appeal. Following the son of Charles Xavier, a mutant diagnosed with schizophrenia, Legion's sensitivity regarding its hero's anguish is truly commendable, as are the staggering performances and stunning visuals, which capture David Haller's psychological torment with vivid intensity. It wasn't always smooth sailing, the psychedelic melodrama of it all sometimes leading to silly exposition dumps, but Legion still worked brilliantly with what it had, exploring complex issues without losing sight of the superhero or the entertaining conspiracy theories surrounding him at its center. Number 6. Agent Carter. In an ideal world, we would have had a dozen seasons of Agent Carter to sit back and enjoy, but as it stands, we only have 2. But this series, led by Hayley Atwell and set during the politically tumultuous years after the Second World War, was so great it only needed 18 episodes to make its mark. Following Peggy Carter and her allies as they uncover conspiracies, Black Widow assassins, and shifting personal relationships in a world without Captain America. Agent Carter made for a legitimately thrilling tale of espionage, anchored by Atwell's winning performance and its impressive ability to be both incredibly tense and amusing. It wasn't meant to last, but it left its mark as a Marvel all-timer, one you should definitely seek out if it passed you by. Number 5. Loki. Call it an unlikely success story. Loki, the villainous brother of Thor, started life as a one-off foil, and through a series of films and finally his own game-changing TV show became one of the MCU's most compelling characters. Loki follows the god of mischief as he finds a new sense of glorious purpose saving the multiverse, explored here to stunning effect, from unseen threats destined to destroy it, a plotline that leads to one of the most visually dazzling and thematically challenging exploits in the entire Marvel canon. Grounded by career-best work from Tom Hiddleston as well as franchise newcomers Owen Wilson, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, and Sophia DiMartino, Loki takes big leaps with its story and expands the MCU in ways never seen before. In a way, the franchise may never be this daring or legitimately exciting again. Number 4. WandaVision. Still the crowning achievement of the MCU's small-screen adventures, WandaVision held audiences in a vice grip throughout its 9-episode run, delivering a thoughtful meditation on grief, trauma, and family with narrative daring and plenty of laughs. Following Wanda Maximoff and Vision as they live a seemingly idealistic life as suburban parents, WandaVision told its story by paying effective homage to sitcoms past, channeling Wanda's complicated inner turmoil through her childhood love for American TV. Filled with electric performances and unexpected twists, WandaVision set the MCU's small-screen exploits off to an unmatchable high. And as it stands, from its affectionate I Love Lucy and Modern Family spoofs to Catherine Hahn's scene-stealing Agatha, the franchise has never felt so resoundingly confident as it did here. And from the touching "We'll Say Hello Again" to the defining "What is grief if not love persevering," the show is an intriguing and emotional ride. Number 3. The Punisher. The story of a vigilante who often crosses the line into all-out villainy, Punisher's methods and morally grey worldview didn't feel fit to sustain an entire show, but thanks in large part to the relentless performance of Jon Bernthal and its affecting portrayal of PTSD, it rarely loses its way. The darkest and most grueling viewing experience produced by Marvel, The Punisher is hard-going, brutal, dark, and as uncompromising as its embattled central character, but also endlessly gripping, following Frank Castle as he fights lingering demons, grief, and his need for justice and revenge. With just 2 seasons, the second of which does admittedly become a touch too weighty to sustain its 13-hour run, The Punisher proved a thrilling addition to the Marvel canon and a flawless showcase for Bernthal's explosive talents. Number 2. Jessica Jones. The harrowing thriller Jessica Jones, the second chapter of Netflix's Defender saga, is a series that constantly pushed the boundaries of its complex subject matter, morally grey characters, and detective story narrative. Watching Jessica Jones combat her past trauma and old life whilst working to save the innocent from injustice made for remarkable TV. Its heartbreaking and healing themes of loss, family, and acceptance hammered home by a host of staggering supporting characters, mainly David Tennant's manipulative and sinister Kilgrave. He was incredible. Anchored throughout by an electrifying central performance from Kristen Ritter, Jessica Jones was sensitive to its eponymous character's plight without losing sight of the thrilling narrative forcing her into action. It had it all: pathos, bracing action, memorable villains, and high stakes, and that's why it's a Marvel TV show not to be missed. And number 1, Daredevil. Of all the shows that Marvel has given us over the years, the best simply has to be the first of Netflix's Defender saga, Daredevil. The show proved right from its stunning opening credit sequence to be something truly new for Marvel. A dark, morally complex tale about a blind lawyer forced to both uphold the law and go against it to fight injustice in his own way. Anchored by Charlie Cox's furious and charming portrayal of Matt Murdock, as well as supporting stars Vincent D'Onofrio, Deborah Ann Woll, and Eldon Henson, the first chapter of the Netflix Marvel era was a gritty, harrowing project that offered just as much emotional pathos as bloody fistfights and massive body counts. Brilliantly choreographed and bursting with challenging villains, including John Bernthal's Punisher and Elodie Young's Elektra, Daredevil was thematically dense but always grounded by Murdock's turmoil and pain, and in 3 seasons gave Marvel fans a superhero show for the ages.